Simply be present in the moment. Inspired by Michael Singer. Written and published by Audible Aria. As you grow and evolve, life starts to seem simpler and simpler. Eventually, it becomes so clear that you might find it almost ridiculous that people suffer, or that we go through life doing things that don't really make sense. When people start to wake up, even just a little bit, and say, "I want a better life. I want to suffer less. I want to feel more joy," they often begin searching for techniques to achieve these goals. I like to joke that I don't teach techniques, but the truth is, that's exactly what I do. However, people don't always realize that's what they're learning, so let's zero in on what I believe to be the most important technique. Don't expect anything groundbreaking or new here. Instead, I want to make sure we understand this concept clearly so we can build on it. The highest technique I'm talking about is relaxation. Yes, relaxation is the technique. But what does that really mean? When you practice yoga, particularly the physical postures called asanas, it's all about finding a balance between stress and tension, and then relaxing into that state. As you do this, something changes inside you. You can actually feel a shift in your energy, and even a chemical change in your body. You're pushing yourself beyond your usual limits, past where you naturally would stop, and that's when transformation happens. This principle isn't just for yoga, it applies to any form of exercise, but yoga is special because it intentionally balances tension with relaxation, allowing you to relax into these new, challenging positions. This helps you move beyond your comfort zone, leading to all sorts of internal changes. It's great to experience this on the yoga mat, and sometimes the effects are so powerful that they linger long after the session. That's why yoga has always been popular, and why it's gaining even more popularity in the Western world. It's not just about working out. It's about changing who you are by relaxing beyond your usual limits. This shift changes your mind, your heart, your entire energy system. But when I say that the highest technique is relaxation, I'm not just talking about yoga or physical practice. I'm talking about something much broader. Let's start with the basics. What is your life, really? At its core, it's something very simple. Imagine a planet spinning in the middle of empty space. If you want to see a picture of it, I've got one hanging on the wall right by the entrance. Now, it might just look like a black blank picture at first glance, but if you look closely, you'll notice a tiny little ball in the middle. That's your Earth, captured from 2 million miles away. So take a moment and check out that picture of our planet. Now, your life is essentially you arriving on this planet, bringing your consciousness with you. No matter where I place you on Earth, whether it's a bustling city or a quiet countryside, something is always happening there. Things were happening before you arrived. They continue while you're there, and they'll keep going long after you leave. It doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a rainforest, standing on the icy plains of Antarctica, walking through the streets of New York, or enjoying the peaceful countryside. Everywhere you go, there's life happening. It could be crickets chirping, rain falling, or people going about their day. Something is always going on. So, what is your life really about? It's about being on this planet in whatever spot you find yourself, and simply experiencing what's happening around you. That's it. You are here, and you're taking in whatever unfolds before your eyes in each moment. It's not complicated at all. Your life is about being present, observing, and experiencing the world around you on this planet Earth. Whatever you see at any given time is just what's happening right then and there. In that moment, you're experiencing it. Now, if I asked you, how hard is that? How hard is it to be on this planet wherever you are? The answer is, it's not hard at all. What's happening is just what's happening. No matter where you are, that's simply what's going on in that place at that particular time. So every day think of it like this. You're visiting planet Earth. You're coming down to Earth just like a traveler to see what's going on. Say to yourself, today I'm going to check out what's happening on Earth. It looks interesting. I'm here to explore. If I were to send you to Mars, that would be exciting too, right? You'd be the first person on Mars seeing what's going on there. Even if not much is happening, it's still something, and you'd take note of it and experience it. Your life on earth is like that. Wherever you go, there's something happening, and your job is to just be there, experience it, and take it all in. You are the one who gets to experience life on planet Earth, seeing and feeling everything that happens around you. Now imagine if you were somewhere else, off the planet, and I told you that I'm going to drop you down onto Earth. I'd say, how hard is that? You'd probably look at me like I was crazy. You'd think, how hard is what? You're just putting me on the planet and I'm supposed to experience whatever's happening wherever I end up. What's so difficult about that? You wouldn't get it because the word hard doesn't even fit here. Experiencing what's in front of you isn't difficult, it's just something that happens naturally. There's nothing to do about it. Think about it. How hard is it for you to see what's in front of you right now? How hard is it to hear the sounds around you? Are you working hard to do that? No, it's just easy. It's automatic. If I took you to an ocean and told you, your job is to see the ocean, you'd do it without effort. If the ocean gets wavy, you see the waves. If it's calm, you see the calm. There's no struggle. You don't have to try. Your only job is to experience what's happening in front of you. And that's what life is. Every moment, something new appears in front of you, and your life is simply about experiencing whatever that is. There's nothing complicated about it, nothing hard. Now, the deepest lesson here is to relax into this truth. We're going to dive deeper into this idea, and I want you to take time to really settle into it. Now, say you're standing in a supermarket. At that moment, that's where you are in your life. That's what you're experiencing. Think of it like this. You've arrived on planet Earth, and right now, you've landed in Walmart. That's just one spot on Earth. So you're in Walmart, and what's happening? People are pushing their carts around, cash registers are ringing, and there are products on the shelves. That's what it means to be in Walmart. And believe it or not, most people don't actually experience this. They miss out on just being there. But really, being in that moment, in that supermarket, is your life. Because that's what you're experiencing right then. So when you find yourself in a place like Walmart, I want you to try something simple. Just be there and relax into the moment. Where should you go? Just remember that you've dropped down onto this tiny ball called Earth, and now you're experiencing whatever is in front of you. That's the technique. You're just there, taking in what's around you. There's nothing else you need to do. Your entire task in that moment is to experience what's happening right in front of you. But here's the thing. You'll find it's not as easy as it sounds. You might think, of course I can do that. I'll see people rolling their carts by. And yes, you'll see that. But then you'll start thinking about other things. You'll wonder if you should say something to someone, worry if your cart is in the way, or feel self-conscious standing there. Suddenly, instead of just being in the moment, you've added all these extra thoughts and worries. It's like you've mixed in a little bit of your own stress, or as some might call it, neurosis, and you'll realize that it's surprisingly difficult to just stand there in Walmart or anywhere else and simply be present in that moment. Don't be hard on yourself, and don't try to change anything right away. What I'm telling you is this. If you want to know the most powerful spiritual practice, I've just given it to you. The practice is simply being present, just being where you are in the moment. Wherever you find yourself, take a moment and see if you can truly be there. But here's the reality. You'll quickly discover that you can't fully be there. When that happens, I want you to understand why. It won't take long for you to realize that while you might be physically present, there's something else going on inside you. There's a kind of static, a background noise in your mind. This noise could be worries, self-conscious thoughts, embarrassment, or fear. Your mind is busy with all these things, and it's important that you notice this. Why does it matter? Because when your mind is filled with this noise, you can't fully experience your life. Instead of being present with what's right in front of you, you're caught up in the noise. This is what happens to many of us. It's like the Grinch who stole Christmas. But instead of stealing presence, your mind, with all its worries and anxieties, steals your ability to simply experience life. The part of you that worries and overthinks is robbing you of the simple joy of just being in the moment. So instead of just standing there and experiencing something as simple as being in Walmart, for example, you end up experiencing your own self-created worries. You start thinking about things that happened in the past or stressing about what might happen in the future. You might wonder if you look silly, if people like you, or why you said something the way you did. You're constantly stirring up disturbances in your own life instead of just living it. This situation can get so overwhelming that you might not even realize the real problem is that you're unable to fully experience life. Instead, you might think you need to control or change what's happening around you to make your mind and emotions feel better. You start thinking, I need to talk to someone, do something, or leave this place to feel better. But in doing so, you miss out on experiencing your life and end up in a state of constant anxiety. The technique I'm talking about is very simple, and with time it can even become enjoyable. The key is that wherever you are, whether you're driving your car, stopping at a stop sign, walking through Walmart, or just strolling down the street, be aware that you are there in that moment, experiencing what's around you. And when you notice that noise inside, that mental static, what should you do? The highest wisdom is to relax every single time. Just relax. That's it. So when you're in a yoga pose and it starts to feel uncomfortable, your first instinct might be to give up or shift around to make it easier. You probably just want to stand up and shake it off. But what you don't realize is that if you just relax into that discomfort, you'll actually go deeper into the pose, and in turn, you'll go deeper within yourself. It's about pushing through that moment of unease to find something deeper on the other side. The same thing applies to life in general. If I'm standing somewhere, just standing there, I have the chance to really feel what it's like to be alive on this earth, in that exact moment with whatever is going on around me. It's kind of amazing if you think about it. No matter where you are or what's happening, it's fascinating because that's what's happening right now on this planet. But here's the thing. I find it hard to just be there because my mind keeps throwing all these thoughts at me. It's like my mind is constantly nagging at me, telling me I should be doing something else or that I've messed up somehow. Maybe you can relate to this. You probably have your own inner voice doing the same thing, right? It's that voice that creates tension inside you. It's like your mind is always telling you that you should have done something differently, making it impossible to just feel okay with what's happening right now. Now here's where the technique of relaxation comes in. It's not something you'll master overnight, but at least you can start practicing it. The idea is to bring your awareness, your consciousness, back to the present moment. That's what people mean when they talk about witness consciousness or mindfulness. It's about realizing that you are here, inside yourself, experiencing whatever is happening outside of you. Let me put it simply. You are in here, inside your mind and body, and you're experiencing what's out there, in the world. Why can't we just be okay with that? For example, if you're on a date or hanging out with someone, can you just be there, fully present, experiencing what it's like to be with that person? That's all it is. Whether you're having dinner, watching a movie, or just chilling, that's what's happening. You are in here, experiencing that experience. But what you'll find is that it's hard to do. There's all this noise, all these thoughts and worries bouncing around in your mind. They create a barrier between you, the person experiencing life, and the actual experience itself. Your mind gets weird, your emotions get weird, and suddenly you're not able to just be there, fully present, experiencing what's happening. So the question is, what do you do about that? A wise person understands that the discomfort you're feeling isn't really about the situation outside of you. It's not the date, the movie, or whatever is happening around you that's making you uncomfortable. These things are just there. They're just part of life on Earth. No matter where you go, there's always something happening. If you look left, there's something going on there. If you look right, There's something else happening over there. But none of that is what's creating the disturbance inside you. The disturbance is coming from within. You are the one creating that discomfort. The outside world is just the experience of the moment. So the real question is, what do you do about the fact that you're uncomfortable? The first step is to realize that this discomfort has nothing to do with what's happening outside. This understanding is a huge part of your spiritual growth, like 50 to 60% of it. Once you get that, you'll see that even if someone picked you up and dropped you somewhere else, it wouldn't be long before you started feeling uneasy again. Your mind would find something else to worry about or stress over. It might change the story, but the feeling would be the same. It's never fully okay. Your mind is always scared, anxious, thinking it did something wrong, that it should be doing something else, or that it needs something to feel safe. Do you see what I'm saying? This is where wisdom comes in. You start to realize that if it wasn't this thing bothering you, it would be something else. I had a friend tell me that back in the 70s, and I never forgot it because it's so true. Whatever problem you're dealing with today, thinking it's a big deal, I guarantee you that if it wasn't that, it'd be something else. Haven't you noticed? It's always something. So, imagine you're someone who's figured out that the real issue isn't what's happening around you at any given moment. The stuff outside of you, the situations, the events, the people, that's not what's actually causing your problems. Even if those things were to change, you'd still find yourself dealing with issues. Why? Because the real problem is something you're creating within yourself. You're the one making yourself stressed, anxious, or uneasy. How can you tell this is true? Here's a simple experiment. The next time you're in a grocery store like Walmart, just stop in the middle of an aisle. Literally, just stand still and see how you feel. It's not like there's a lion or tiger in the store about to attack you, right? There's nothing in that moment that's actually threatening your safety. But still, you probably won't feel okay. Maybe you'll feel embarrassed, maybe self-conscious, like you forgot something, or that people are staring at you. You'll notice a kind of disturbance inside you. If it doesn't hit you right away, give it another 15 seconds or so. Eventually, you'll start to notice this discomfort building up. And that's what I want you to pay attention to. At any moment, you're just experiencing what's happening right in front of you. That's not where the problem lies. Sure, we could talk about extreme situations, like if you were actually being attacked by a wild animal. Then yeah, that would be a real problem. But let's be real. How often is that happening in your life? How often are you actually in danger? Maybe once in a blue moon, right? So out of all the moments in your life, how many of them have you really been in physical danger where it made sense to feel fear? It's such a tiny percentage, almost zero. But here's the kicker. How often do you actually feel fear, anxiety, or some kind of discomfort? If we're being honest, it's probably close to 97% or 98% of the time, right? That's almost all the time. So, there's clearly something wrong here, and that's what I need you to catch on to. You're living your life on this planet, going through your days, and the stuff happening around you isn't the problem. It's not supposed to be a problem. Maybe 1% of the time, there's a legitimate issue, but the other 99.9% of the time, you're just experiencing what's going on, yet you're still feeling disturbed inside. You're driving down the road, or just going about your day, and inside, you're feeling all kinds of things: anger, anxiety, self-consciousness, neediness, embarrassment, whatever it is, you name it. And it's happening inside you, not because of what's happening outside. This is a huge breakthrough when you finally realize this. One way to see it is to just stop at any random moment and honestly look at what's going on around you. What do you see? Maybe some cars driving by, maybe some people walking. Nothing much, right? Nothing threatening, nothing that should be causing you stress. But still, inside you feel tension, disturbance, fear, need. Whatever it is, something's not sitting right. So what you need to do is separate the fact that the outside world is not causing this inner disturbance. It's something you're doing to yourself. And that's a major realization. Until you see this clearly, what are you going to do about that inner disturbance? Most people don't realize this, and they end up trying to fix their inner discomfort by changing things outside. But that's not going to solve anything. And it's sad because it's a huge mistake. Most people live their lives this way, thinking, I'm not comfortable inside, so I need to change something outside to feel better inside. But that's just not going to work. If the problem isn't coming from outside of you, then the solution can't be found outside either. It's just not possible. So if it's true that 99.9% of the time, if you stop and look at what's going on around you, there's nothing out there that's a real problem. Yet you still feel disturbed. It means you're creating that disturbance inside yourself. Once you understand this, the idea that you should work to change everything outside of you to feel okay inside starts to look crazy. If you're not careful, you'll end up chasing these quick fixes to feel good inside, like needing someone to compliment you just to feel better for a moment. But then something else happens, or your mind starts to mess with you again and you're back to feeling uneasy, and the cycle continues. So here's the thing. You're dealing with some mess inside yourself. Yeah, you heard me right. You're creating this storm within, even though everything outside might be chill. Now, we'll dive into how you're doing that in just a bit, but first, understand this. The best you can do when you're in that state is to waste your time and energy trying to tweak and control what's going on around you. Maybe you think if you can just get everything lined up outside, you'll feel better inside. And sure, it might work for a minute, but guess what? You got to keep doing that thing over and over. There's some real work that needs doing, but it isn't out there. It's inside you, my friend. Now, we've come at this from all sorts of angles, like I've been saying. But let's get back to what's happening inside of you. Something's going down outside and you notice you're getting all riled up, right? That means there's some kind of disturbance inside. Call it anxiety, unease, whatever. The bottom line is, it's there, messing with you. So, what are you going to do about it? If your first reaction is to change something outside, like getting a new partner, moving to a different place, buying new clothes or whatever, it might work for a little while. But really, all you're doing is covering up the chaos inside you. It won't last. You know it won't, because you've been doing the same thing over and over, and you're still not okay. You've been trying to make the outside world perfect, finding the right person, getting the best car, achieving good grades, getting that job or whatever. But look around. Everyone you know is doing the same thing, and none of them are truly at peace. What does that tell you? It tells you that this approach doesn't work. It can't work. If you're creating chaos inside, no outside fix is going to solve it for good. Sure, you might feel better for a while, but eventually that same old mess will come back. Now imagine this. You're standing in Walmart, just you and the world around you. But inside, you're feeling disturbed. The question is, what do you do about it? We've already talked about what won't work. So what's the alternative? Believe it or not, the answer is to relax. Yes, relax. But what does that mean? It means that all the noise inside, all that disturbance, that's something you're creating yourself. Walmart isn't doing it to you. The cars outside aren't causing it. The person you're with isn't making you feel that way. No, it's all you. So instead of getting all worked up over these things, you need to relax. That's the best advice I can give you. We can go into more details, but at the core, instead of feeding into whatever is causing the chaos inside, just take a step back and chill. Understand this. You're in here. The world is out there doing its own thing, and all that noise you're hearing, that's you. You're bringing up the past and getting upset, or you're worrying about the future and getting anxious. Maybe you're even standing there feeling awkward when you should be relaxing. But whatever it is, recognize that it's all happening inside you. So instead of feeding into that craziness, just let it be and relax. So here's how it goes. You show up, look around, and realize that all this chaos, all this disturbance you're feeling, it's coming from inside you. What do you do about it? You relax. Now, you might be wondering what that really means. Well, it means that when you feel the urge to do something about the mess you're creating inside, you don't act on it. Instead, you just relax. It's like when you're in a yoga pose, an asana, and you feel that tension building up in your body. But instead of giving in to that tension, getting up or doing what it's pushing you to do, you just relax into it. It can be as simple as standing a certain way, right? You're standing there and suddenly you feel embarrassed. Maybe you cross your arms a certain way or shift how you're sitting, or maybe you start talking to somebody just to ease that discomfort. Now, I got to tell you, this isn't easy to talk about because most folks don't like dealing with this kind of stuff. And let me warn you, you might even get mad at me for bringing it up. You might come back and say, ever since I started doing this, I feel worse than before. But no, you're not actually worse. What's happening is you're finally noticing how uncomfortable you've been inside all along. If you've been feeling that uncomfortable deep down, and that's what's been driving you to talk to people, buy things, or act in certain ways, then all you're doing is pushing that discomfort out into your life. Instead of reacting to it, you can just relax. That's your alternative. I relax. Now picture this. You're hanging out with a group of friends. They're chatting, and you're sitting there, mind racing about what you should say, or maybe regretting something you already said. Maybe you're trying to figure out how to say the right thing, or maybe you're worried about whether your opinion is even worth sharing. Whatever it is, your mind is just spinning, trying to find a way to make you feel more comfortable. But here's the kicker. The best thing you can do is to relax. I'm going to keep saying it, relax. If you're about to say something just to impress someone or to make yourself look good, stop. Instead of letting your mind push you into trying to fix things, relax. Just take a step back inside yourself and chill, and you'll start to see that everything gets a little bit better. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. At first, it's going to feel scary. You'll start to see that all these things you've been doing, all the noise in your head, have been attempts to protect yourself. It's like something inside you believes you're under attack all the time. You can't even be comfortable in the presence of friends, let alone with a lover or anyone else, without feeling that underlying fear. And when you stop reacting, you'll start to notice just how scared you really are. When you dig deep, you'll realize that everything you've been doing, how you dress, how you talk, how you act, is because you're scared. You've been trying to create a version of yourself that feels safe, trying to control how others see you so you can keep that fear at bay. Can you relate to that? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because that's the root of it. We all got this fear inside, and we spend so much energy trying to cover it up or keep it in check. But if you can just relax instead of reacting, you'll start to see things change. You'll start to feel a little more at ease, and life will get a whole lot better. So here's something to think about. Imagine changing up how you dress, switching your hairstyle, doing something different that makes you feel a little uncomfortable. Now, go out into the world like that. What you'll start to notice is that everything you do is about trying to create this comfort zone for yourself. But why do you even need a comfort zone? It's because deep down you're scared and you don't feel okay. Folks who aren't scared don't need all that, they just live. Look at little kids, for example. They run around free as can be, not worrying about a damn thing. But we as adults, we can't do that. So we end up developing these behavior patterns, these personalities, all as a way to hide ourselves from that fear we're carrying inside. And because of that, we end up having to sell ourselves all the time. We're constantly trying to maintain this persona, this facade we've built up. Now, if I had my way, I'd want better for you. I'd want you to live without constantly stressing about whether people accept you or whether you're saying or wearing the right thing. Honestly, that kind of life sounds exhausting. I mean, can you imagine how intense it must be to live like that every single day? Eventually, you reach a point where you realize, if I want to feel okay, I need to stop creating this madness inside myself. And giving into it isn't going to stop it. Think about it like this. If a kid is throwing a tantrum, and you give him what he wants just to make him stop, he's going to keep throwing those tantrums every time he wants something. It's the same with that part of you that's creating all these problems. If you keep feeding into it, trying to appease it, it's not going to get better, it's only going to get worse. So, at some point, you've got to wake up and realize that you're the one creating this problem within yourself. Life itself isn't the problem. Life is just doing its thing, going about its business like it has for the past 13.8 billion years. You just happen to be here at this particular moment in time, witnessing what's going on. I keep bringing this up because one day you'll become so aware that it'll blow your mind to realize that what you're seeing right now is the result of all those billions of years of evolution across the entire universe. And here you are, at this very point in time and space, just observing it. That's what's happening, right? That's reality. If I took you out of the picture, life would keep unfolding just the same. If I could, I'd snap my fingers and drop you into Paris right now. And guess what? Life would still be happening all around you, completely unaffected by your presence. You weren't there a minute ago, but life was still moving. And if you take a good look, you'll realize that the turmoil you're feeling inside has nothing to do with where you are. It's something you're creating within yourself, no matter where you go. If you want to grow spiritually, that's what you need to work on. So why are you creating all this disturbance? Eventually, you'll come to see that the answer is simple, because you're scared. That's why you're doing it. You've got to look inside and ask yourself, why am I so scared? That's the root of it all. But here's the thing. The only way you can start dealing with this is to relax. If you don't, you'll just keep reacting to that fear, to that anxiety, and it'll keep you trapped. It's like when you're panicking inside, freaking out like, I can't handle this, I don't want to feel this. And before you know it, you're saying things, doing things, acting out just to avoid feeling that disturbance you've created for no real reason. No one's forcing you to do this. You don't have to live like this. Think about the past. Why are you still letting it mess with you? It's over. Done. It already happened. So why keep dragging it around with you, letting it bother you? Nobody's making you do that. It's not like someone's constantly in your face, reminding you of your past. How many people come up to you saying, you did this when you were 5 years old? Nobody knows unless you tell them because you're the one who keeps holding on to it. So the question becomes, why are you doing this to yourself? And the answer lies in recognizing that it's all about that fear inside. If you can start relaxing instead of reacting, you'll find a way out of this cycle. Think about this. Almost every single moment of your life, like 99.9% of the time, nobody is running up to you, waving your past in your face. Nobody's out there reminding you of things that happened years ago. But you're doing it to yourself, constantly bringing up your past and letting it mess with your mind. Why are you doing this? You know it's not good for you. It's only going to make you sick with stress and worry, yet you keep on doing it. So the work you need to do is to go deep inside yourself and ask, why am I doing this? I don't need to keep doing this to myself. Now, just because you understand this doesn't mean you're going to stop doing it immediately. It's a habit you've built over time, something you've practiced so much that it feels normal. But you've got to get to a place within yourself where the deepest part of you understands. Hey, the world is just going about its business, and I should be able to handle it. It's no big deal. I'm just here, experiencing what's happening on this planet. The past is gone. The future hasn't happened yet. When you reach that understanding, you're tapping into something called witness consciousness. That means you're simply watching and experiencing what's happening without letting it mess with your mind. Anything beyond that, like dragging your past into your present, is something you're doing to yourself. So if your past is bothering you, understand this. The past isn't really bothering you. The past doesn't even exist anymore. It's just something you're doing inside your own mind, bringing it back up and letting it disturb you. And if you keep doing that, you won't ever feel okay. What you need to do is stop doing it. And that's what spiritual growth is all about. So what I'm telling you is, instead of doing what you're doing, stressing yourself out, you need to relax. I know that might not make sense at first, but in time, it will. Right now, you're doing something inside yourself that keeps making your past pop up, and that's causing you to disturb your own peace. You're even making it so that when you're just standing there, safe and sound in a grocery store like Walmart, you feel scared or nervous. You're the one creating that feeling. The way to stop doing that is to relax. A yogi, someone who practices yoga and mindfulness, understands this, and they start to develop a habit of checking in with themselves. Wherever they are, whatever they're doing, they take a moment to look inside and notice, what kind of state am I in? What kind of disturbance am I creating within myself? And then they relax. Now here's the thing. When you first try to relax, you might not want to. You'll feel like you need to do something to protect yourself, to feel safer. It might seem like if you relax, you're exposing yourself to danger. But here's the truth. There's nothing actually happening. So there's no reason not to open up and let go of the neurotic behavior you're creating inside. Little by little, you start practicing relaxing. So imagine you're standing with a group of friends and someone's talking, but instead of really listening to what they're saying, your mind is racing, thinking about what you're going to say next. You start to notice this, and you ask yourself, why am I doing this? And you'll realize it's because of fear. You're trying to be ready, trying to make sure you don't say something dumb, trying to, make sure you come across a certain way. But in that moment, instead of letting that fear take over, you relax. Just relax. What does that mean? It means you let your shoulders drop, let your chest soften, let your stomach loosen up, let your butt unclench because it gets tight when you're tense. Just take a deep breath and let a wave of relaxation wash over you while you're standing there. Nobody's going to notice, but you'll feel the difference as you relax. What happens when you do this? Because you chose to relax, you didn't let yourself get caught up in that mental process of creating more anxiety and tension. Relaxation is the opposite of neurosis, which is why yoga and meditation are all about learning to relax your body and mind. It's not just about doing the physical postures, it's about learning to relax inside, wherever you are. Now, you might not be able to do this every single moment, but with practice, you'll get there. For now, your practice is to catch yourself at different points throughout the day. Take a moment to become present and look inside to see what's going on. Notice the tension, the stress, the fear, and instead of letting it take over, you relax. I'm telling you, once you really start paying attention, you're going to notice something important. You are the one creating the tension inside yourself. You are the one stirring up anxiety. You're causing a storm inside your mind, even when nothing is actually happening around you. One way to recognize this is by thinking about the past. The past isn't happening anymore. It's done and over with. So if you're getting upset about something from the past, that means you're the one creating that disturbance inside yourself. The same thing goes for the future. The future hasn't happened yet. So if you're worrying or feeling anxious about what might happen, that's also something you're doing to yourself. The alternative to stressing yourself out is to relax. If you make a conscious effort to relax, you're choosing not to use your energy to create a hard time for yourself. Here's the truth. If you feel like life is really hard, at some point, you're going to realize that about 95% of the tough times you're experiencing are actually things you're creating for yourself. Life itself, as it unfolds naturally, might only be responsible for about 5% of your problems. The rest, you're doing to yourself, moment by moment. So you need to stop creating these disturbances. One way to start is by practicing relaxation. You'll find yourself in all sorts of situations. Most of them are neutral, nothing particularly stressful is happening. In those moments, just relax. Give yourself permission to relax. I'm telling you, this simple act of relaxing can change your life. Let me give you an example. Every time I got into my car before starting it, I'd take a moment to relax. And when I got out of the car, I'd relax again. Whenever I was about to walk through a door, and you go through a lot of doors each day, I'd remind myself, I'm on planet Earth, about to walk through this door, and I'd relax. This habit of relaxing in these small, everyday moments changed my life. Why? Because it made me more conscious, more aware. First, I was becoming aware of the present moment. And second, by being conscious, I wasn't participating in creating more anxiety and stress for myself. Think about how many times you've worried about something that never even happened. Probably a lot, right? Like I said, the past is over, so getting upset about it is a waste of energy. The future hasn't happened yet, so stressing about it is also wasted effort. And when you're dealing with whatever's happening right in front of you, if you're creating anxiety because you're embarrassed or self-conscious, you're just adding more unnecessary stress. By the time you're done analysing it, you'll likely realise that about 95% of your problems are things you've created yourself. It's not just that you're the root of your problems, but that you're actively doing something inside yourself that causes all this turmoil, tension, and disturbance. So if you want to solve this, the answer isn't to do more. It's to stop doing what you're doing to yourself. That's the essence of your spiritual path. Stop hurting yourself by creating all this stress inside. To really grow and develop a healthy relationship with yourself, you've got to start by catching yourself in the present moment and noticing what you're doing to yourself. If there's nothing happening outside to disturb you, like 99% of the time there isn't, then any disturbance you're feeling is something you're creating. Even when you're doing something as simple as driving down the street, which isn't usually hard because you're good at it. If you look inside, you'll notice tension, anxiety, or worry. You're doing that to yourself. So here's what you can do. When you're driving and you notice yourself thinking about the past, relax. If you find yourself worrying about the future, like what might happen 20 years from now, relax. If you catch yourself feeling scared and looking around to make sure everything's okay, relax. Just keep relaxing. Instead of letting your mind spiral into worry or fear, just take a deep breath and relax. Let go of the tension in your shoulders, loosen up your body. And here's the thing, you'll start to see that beneath all of this tension is fear. That's what's really there. But instead of trying to fight the fear or fix it, just lean away from it. Don't touch it. Just relax and release. This process is called relax and release. It means letting go of that tension and fear. And over time, and yes, it does take time, you'll notice that you're becoming calmer. You'll start to feel more centered, clearer, and less afraid. I heard about someone who was playing with grasshoppers, trying to hold one without getting scared when it jumped. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Facing your fear and relaxing instead of reacting. But you need to spread that practice to every area of your life. Expand your comfort zone by practicing relaxation in every situation you find yourself in. Imagine you're about to walk across a field. Some folks might say, "Watch out, there are snakes in that field." Now, I've been living out here for 40 years, and by the grace of God, no one's ever had a problem with a snake. Sure, there are snakes out there, rattlesnakes, coral snakes, but not a single person has ever been bothered by one. So if you're constantly worrying about snakes and letting that worry consume your thoughts, you're going to miss out on enjoying the walk across that field. You might be so caught up in the fear of running into a rattlesnake or a coral snake that you don't even want to step outside. But here's the thing, if you keep letting that fear run your life, you're the one causing yourself all this trouble. Instead of getting caught up in those thoughts, what you need to do is relax. And that's something you should do with all of life. Just keep letting go, keep relaxing, and you'll start to notice there's more space inside you, space to breathe, space to enjoy life. But then you'll hit a point where you get scared, where you're pushing your comfort zone. Maybe you're relaxing, feeling good, and then you decide to speak up, to say something, and suddenly your mind starts nagging you. Why did you say that? That was so stupid. You shouldn't have said that. Does anyone else's mind do that? You see, you'll never be truly okay unless you learn how to deal with this. This isn't something you can skip over. It's not an elective course in the school of life. It's a mandatory course, something you have to learn, how to stop bothering yourself, how to stop creating all this unnecessary trouble for yourself. The way to do that is to relax. Now, if meditation helps you relax, or chanting a mantra, or using any other method, whether it's reading good books or practicing mindfulness, it doesn't really matter what you do. What matters is that you're consciously aware that you're working on yourself. You're focused on stopping the habit of creating problems for yourself. Think about it this way. Why are you creating so much trouble for yourself? You've got to stop doing that. What I've found is that if you catch yourself in the act, when your mind starts spinning stories and creating drama, don't try to overthink it or solve it. Just relax. Instead of feeding into those thoughts, just take a deep breath and relax. When you do this, you're not putting your energy into creating more stress and anxiety for yourself. Over time, the more you relax, the less power those anxious thoughts will have. And something really special starts to happen. All that energy you used to waste on fear, worry, and stress starts to settle down. It finds its way to a deeper place inside of you. You don't even have to do anything. This energy naturally moves on its own, and when it does, you start to feel a sense of joy for no particular reason. Now, a lot of people think you can't really appreciate happiness unless you've experienced sadness. They believe you need to know the opposites to feel anything at all, like life would be just neutral without them. But the truth is, when you stop feeding your fears and worries, when you stop creating unnecessary trouble for yourself, you'll discover a deeper joy that doesn't rely on any outside circumstances. It's just there within you, waiting to be felt. It's not like life is this neutral place where there's always something disturbing you and you have to balance it out by trying to make things better. It's not about balancing the good and the bad. Instead, when you relax and stop playing the game your mind is caught up in, you actually free up all that energy that was being used to create problems and then try to solve them. Think about all the energy you use when your mind is busy creating stress, worry, and noise. Now, imagine how much energy you spend trying to fix all that stress and worry. That's a lot of energy, right? Well, when you stop engaging in that cycle, when you just relax, all that energy gets released. It doesn't disappear. It starts to move up through a central channel inside of you. This is something that happens naturally, kind of like in yoga, but it's not something you have to force. Because you're no longer caught up in the drama of your own mind, this energy flows to higher places within you. When that happens, you start to feel waves of pure joy, but it's not the kind of joy you get from something nice happening to you. It's much deeper than that. Usually when you're stressed out and someone says something kind or you have a moment of relief, it feels good, right? But that's a temporary kind of happiness, a quick rush that comes and goes. It's like releasing tension for a moment or getting a little high from something. But the joy I'm talking about is way beyond that. Because this energy is redirected, it begins to flow constantly inside you, giving you the highest, most intense feelings you've ever experienced. It's like having peak experiences, but instead of them being rare moments, they're happening all the time. Now, you've got to learn how to live with this kind of intense joy. Some of the great spiritual masters had so much of this energy flowing through them that they could hardly contain it. They'd get so overwhelmed with joy that they'd raise their arms, tears would start flowing, and they might even fall over from the sheer intensity of it all. It's a problem only a few people have, too much ecstasy. When you have that problem, come talk to me, and we'll figure it out. But honestly, that's a natural state for everyone, and that's where relaxation will take you. When you truly relax, this is the kind of life you're opening yourself up to. Now here's the mistake people make. They think I'm saying they need to force all that tension and insecurity they've built up inside to relax. But that's not it. You're not going to make your stress relax. You, the person who's supposed to be experiencing life as it happens, need to relax. Just relax yourself And over time, all that stress and tension will fade away on its own. Imagine living life where every little thing you experience, whether it's seeing a person, hearing a bird chirp, or even just driving a car, feels absolutely amazing. This isn't because these things are extraordinary by themselves, but because you're so tuned in, so present, that everything just feels deeply special. The reason for this is that you're no longer caught up in your own mind, overthinking and worrying about stuff that doesn't really matter. Instead, you've learned to let go of all that mental clutter. Now, imagine how it feels when a bird takes off into the sky. For most people, it's just a bird flying. But when you're in this state of heightened awareness, that simple act can bring you so much joy that it stays with you for hours. It's like every little thing around you has the power to fill you up with this incredible sense of happiness. That's the kind of life you're aiming for. As you continue on this path, you'll start to notice that life becomes more enjoyable, not because you're chasing after happiness, but because you're already full of it. You won't care so much about what happens during the day, because you're already feeling great. Everything that happens just becomes an added bonus, something fun to experience. The world stops being a scary place where you need to protect yourself or get something to feel okay. Instead, you start feeling so good inside that you naturally want to share that goodness with others. You see, most people go through life trying to get something, whether it's approval, money, or just a sense of security. But when you're living in this state of joy, you don't need anything from anyone or anything. You're already full, already complete. This changes the way you interact with the world. Instead of trying to take, you start giving. It becomes natural to want to help others, to offer support, and to share what you have inside. This is what it means to live a spiritual life, where you're more focused on giving than getting because you're already overflowing with joy. But how do you get to this point? It's all about relaxing. Really, truly relaxing. What I mean by this is that you stop getting involved in all the mental noise that creates stress and anxiety inside of you. Every time you catch yourself starting to worry, starting to overthink, you simply choose to relax instead. It's like you're training yourself to not add fuel to the fire of your thoughts. Instead, you let go, and you keep letting go, until it becomes second nature. And when you do this, you'll find that life works out so much better. Everything becomes easier, lighter, and way more enjoyable. So, keep practicing this relaxation and watch how your life transforms into something more joyful and fulfilling. The more you relax, the more you'll start to live in a state of constant joy, and the world will become a place where you naturally give because you already feel whole inside. So here's the deal. There's a technique that you can use all the time, every moment of your life. At first, it might seem like a lot of work, but with practice, it will become second nature. The idea is to focus on relaxing continuously. Imagine that you're constantly in a state of relaxation, no matter what's happening around you. Over time, you'll find that this relaxed state just becomes a part of who you are. You'll start to see that the world is unfolding around you in its own way, and you're simply experiencing it. There won't be any problems. There will just be the situations and people you encounter. When you're relaxed, you engage with the world differently. You interact with whatever comes your way, whether it's a challenge or a joy, and you handle it with ease. Life starts to feel beautiful and flowing, rather than stressful and problematic. In this state, you'll find that everything is just as it should be. There's no need to worry or get anxious about what's going on. You're just there, present and relaxed, enjoying the journey and taking on challenges with a sense of joy. Life becomes more about experiencing and appreciating the moments as they come, rather than trying to control or fix things. So keep practicing this relaxation technique. Make it a part of your daily routine. Over time, you'll find that it transforms your experience of life. You'll be more at ease and everything will seem more beautiful and manageable. Life will become a wonderful adventure, full of joy and learning. Thank you for listening.